Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Kremlin says expert-level talks between Russia and US being prepared. Denies plans of telephonic call between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin at the moment. US-Ukraine agree on critical minerals deal. President Zelensky expected to visit United States later this week to sign the deal. US President Donald Trump proposes replacing the existing investor visa program with a new gold card plan, which means US citizenship offer for $5 million. And urging aid for poorer countries, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa calls on the G20 leaders to focus on inclusive growth. The US and Ukraine have agreed on the terms of a draft minerals deal central to Kiev's push to win Washington's support as President Donald Trump seeks to rapidly end the conflict with Russia.
The United States and Ukraine have reached a deal providing access to the European country's rare earth minerals and other natural resources. At the White House, US President Donald Trump has said Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky wants to come to Washington on Friday to sign a very big deal. This came after the two leaders exchanged hostile words last week.
Is it true that President Zelensky is coming on Friday to meet with you, and is the mineral deal sorted out?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly, it's okay with me if he'd like to, and he would like to sign it together with me, and I understand that's a big deal, very big deal. And I think the American people, even if you look at polling, they're very happy because, you know, Biden was throwing money around like it's cotton candy. And it's a very big deal. Look, it could be $1 trillion deal. It could be whatever, but it's rare earths and other things. And look, we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars on Ukraine and Russia fighting. A war that should have never, ever happened. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president.
The deal would see the United States jointly develop Ukraine's mineral wealth, with revenues going to a newly created fund that would be joint for Ukraine and America. As Zelensky said, Ukraine had Europe's largest reserves of titanium, essential for the aviation and space industry, and uranium used for nuclear energy and weapons. Now let us know why rare earth minerals are important. 17 silvery white rare earth minerals are not uncommon in the Earth's crust. Deposits that are economically viable are more difficult to find. The complex process separates materials for permanent magnets used in critical products. Russia has proposed to the Trump administration a potential agreement under which the United States would gain some ownership of rare earth minerals. The Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Tuesday that Russia had lots of rare earth metal deposits and that it was open to doing deal to develop them. Earlier, Putin also said that Russia was open to joint projects with American partners, including the government and the private sectors, under a future Russia-US economic deal. Bureau Report, DD India.
The United States and Russia are preparing for expert-level talks to follow up on a high-level meeting held last week and a call between the heads of both the countries. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov reiterated that US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet in person after thorough preparation, but said that there was no details yet on when and where this would happen. Separately, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that diplomats from Moscow and Washington, D.C. will meet in Istanbul on Thursday to discuss the work of their embassies. French President Emmanuel Macron held a video conference with the European Union leaders on Wednesday to discuss his recent meeting with US President Donald Trump earlier this week. The discussion comes ahead of an extraordinary EU summit scheduled for March 6th regarding additional support for Ukraine and European security guarantees. Macron and Trump had met on Earlier this week, to address the Ukraine's concerns with ongoing geopolitical tensions, the upcoming summit is expected to decide Europe's next steps on Ukraine and other security and defense issues. On to West Asia, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appeared at the Tel Aviv District Court on Wednesday in relation to his long-running corruption case. Netanyahu was ordered to testify in the 2019 indictment in 3 cases involving gifts from millionaire friends and allegedly seeking regulatory favors for media tycoons in return for favorable news coverage. The Israeli Prime Minister denies all these claims and has pleaded not guilty. Staying in the region, Egyptian mediators have brokered a deal to swap Palestinian prisoners for the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages. The office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed that an agreement has been reached with mediators for the return of the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages held in Gaza. Tensions rose when Hamas accused Israel of jeopardizing the Gaza truce by delaying prisoner releases. Since January 19th ceasefire, Hamas has freed 25 Israeli hostages in public ceremonies. These ceremonies have sparked criticism from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who called them humiliating. The Red Cross has urged all parties to conduct prisoner exchanges privately and with dignity. While both sides have accused each other of violating the ceasefire, it has largely held since coming into effect. Meanwhile, thousands of Israelis gathered in Rishon city on Wednesday to honor Shiri Bibas and her 2 young sons during their funeral procession on Wednesday. Shiri and her children were kidnapped during the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. Israel's army radio reported last week that Bibas and the kids were likely killed while in captivity.
I've come here to pay my respect to the Bibas family, Ariel, Kfir and Shiri, that were murdered in captivity. It's a very tragic and unfathomable event. It's horrific, and it's something that is very difficult to come to terms with. And it's the little bit that we can do to try and show our solidarity with the family.
Members of the Israeli parliament observed a minute of silence to mourn the deaths of 3 members of the Bibas family on Wednesday. Syrian leader Ahmed al-Shara arrived in Jordan on Wednesday to meet King Abdullah and discuss boosting ties between the neighboring countries. Shara is expected to hold wide-ranging talks with Jordan's king over border security and ways of expanding commercial ties. The visit marks al-Shara's 3rd foreign trip after Saudi Arabia and Turkey since he came to power after the fall of the Assad regime in Syria. Germany's potential chancellor and leader of the Conservative Party, Friedrich Merz, has ruled out an immediate reform of the country's borrowing limits known as the debt brake.
It is out of the question in the near future that we will reform the debt brake. If it happens at all, it will be quite extensive and difficult work that needs to be done. I have also read that there is already speculation about a special fund. We are talking to each other, but it is far too early to say anything about it now.
Merz's Conservatives secured victory in the national elections but fell short of a majority. They now face complex coalition talks and a more divided parliament after a surge in support for the far-right AfD party.
I am also prepared to take on this leadership responsibility in the government as Federal Chancellor. But all this requires a well-negotiated coalition agreement with the Social Democrats. I am still assuming that we can negotiate a good coalition agreement with the Social Democrats and that we can do this within a reasonable period of time, so that we really do have a government with a majority in the German parliament by Easter.
Friedrich Merz, the man set to lead Germany's next government, says that strengthening Europe and reducing dependence on the United States will be his top priority when he takes office. His remarks come as relations between the two continents are undergoing a historic shift. For more on what this means, let's bring in Deutsche Welle reporter Kate Ferguson from Berlin. Hi, Kate. First of all, tell us a bit about Germany's next chancellor. Who is Friedrich Merz?
Well, he's a 69-year-old longtime conservative who resumed his political career a few years ago after holding various positions in the private sector, including as chairman of the German branch of asset manager BlackRock. Now, he's known as a hardliner, representing the right-wing faction of his party. And for a long time in Germany, he was actually best known as the rival of former Chancellor Angela Merkel, whose centrist approach, and especially her decision to open Germany's borders during the migration crisis of 2015, he sharply criticised. In terms of his character, he's decisive, a plain speaker. Some critics might say he's abrasive. And when it comes to his plans for the future domestically, he's determined to enforce stricter rules on migration and to tackle Germany's flagging economy. Internationally, as you mentioned, his priority is making Europe stronger, especially in the face of Russian aggression and the growing perception due to Trump's shaky commitment to NATO that the United States can simply no longer be fully relied upon when it comes to defence.
Okay, and what does strengthening Europe look like in practice, and why this desire to lessen dependence on the United States now?
Well, making Europe stronger means expanding its military might, and the current US administration has made it clear that it will no longer provide Europe with unconditional security guarantees, and that's despite its NATO membership. Donald Trump's determination to end the war in Ukraine by speaking directly to Vladimir Putin without involving Europe really marked the end of transatlantic relations in the form that they've been known since the end of World War II. Now, in concrete terms, Friedrich Merz will have to increase defence spending and perhaps form a kind of European defence alliance that would exist alongside or even instead of a weakened NATO. He may also have to ask France and the UK to share their nuclear protection with Germany, which doesn't itself have an atomic weapon.
And finally, Kate, what challenges will Merz face in his goal of making Europe stronger and more independent?
So the biggest challenge will definitely be maintaining unity. Now, one positive is that Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer is keener to restore good relations with the EU than his predecessors were. And in fact, the UK has just announced an increase in defence spending. But among the EU's 27 member countries, there are many competing interests. And if we take Hungary, for example, its leader, Viktor Orban, has vetoed certain EU sanctions against Russia. And generally, he has a more favourable view of the Trumpian approach to politics than his EU counterparts do. Budgetary issues are an additional concern. Overall, the EU's economy is lagging behind that of the United States and China, and putting more money into defence could be a hard sell. So Friedrich Merz will have to make a very compelling case for European unity, and that could mean outlining just how big a risk the continent faces from Russia if it fails to act now.
Okay, we leave it here. Thank you very much, Kate Ferguson, joining us from DW Berlin. US President Donald Trump will host the first official cabinet meeting at the White House on Wednesday. This will be Trump's first full cabinet gathering since returning to the White House for the second term. Presidential advisor Elon Musk will also be present at Donald Trump's first official cabinet meeting on Wednesday. Musk has no ministerial portfolio or formal decision-making authority, but has status as a special government employee and senior advisor to the president. He's heading the Department of Government Efficiency, tasked by the president with splashing federal spending. Further, US President Donald Trump has proposed replacing the existing investor visa program with a new gold card that would offer a path to citizenship for $5 million. Speaking to reporters, Trump said that he plans to replace the EB-5 immigrant investor visa, which grants green cards to foreigners investing in US businesses, with the gold card system. The current EB-5 program allows foreign investors to gain permanent residency by creating or preserving US jobs.
EB-5 program was really, you lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB5 program, we're going to end the EB5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold. So they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go through vetting, of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens.
You're watching DD India Live. Still to come on the show. The vast opportunities for energy exploration in focus at the Advantage Assam 2.0 Summit. And it's the final holy bath or snan at the Mahakumbh today. Millions of devotees reach Prayagraj to take dip at the three-river confluence called the Triveni Sangam.
Mahakumbh 2025, where we take you on a journey through the largest spiritual gathering on earth. From the digital Mahakumbh Experience Center to the community kitchens serving millions.
This is kind of laying the path away how next Kumbhs can be done.
As far as this Mahakumbh and economy is concerned, so all of the development that have happened are not temporary. So they are going to be permanent structure. They are going to boost the economy of Prayagraj, of Uttar Pradesh.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa kicked off a gathering of the group of 20 top economies in South Africa on Wednesday. Urging aid for poorer countries, Ramaphosa called on the G20 leaders for coordinated efforts to focus on inclusive growth that is based on responsive trade and investments.
We need deliberate and coordinated efforts to focus on inclusive growth based on responsive trade and investment to grow the incomes of poor nations and the poorest in society.
At the ongoing Advantage Assam 2.0 Summit, discussions were held on the potential of Assam's energy sector, focusing on innovation, investment and infrastructure. Addressing the summit, Chief Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sarma spoke about the various opportunities for gas and hydrocarbon exploration in the state. He also highlighted the importance of hydrocarbon as a key energy resource for Assam and its role in national growth.
The Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas has decided to lay down 1600-kilometer pipeline from Paradip to Numaligarh so that we can enhance the capacity of refinery. Today, both Oil India Limited and ONGC is showing renewed commitment for increasing exploration activity and also setting up a lot of downstream activity through Numaligarh for the development of this region.
Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas Hardeep Singh Puri also attended a session themed Unlocking Assam's Energy Potential, Building Future-Ready Oil and Gas Infrastructure, Innovation and Investment aligned with global energy transitions. UN Under-Secretary-General for Peace Operations, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, has expressed his gratitude to India and other nations contributing troops to the UN mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo following the deaths of 3 peacekeepers last week. Jean-Pierre is expected to leave for Congo after his visit to India. India has over 1,114 troops and 160 police personnel deployed in the Congo region.
I think that the reform of the Security Council, so that the Security Council should become more representative of today's international reality is very important. And this is not only me saying, it's actually our Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, who had been time and again insisting on the importance of bringing about reforms of international governance and including a reform of the Security Council. Now, how can that be done? I think it's for member states to decide. It's not for the UN Secretariat to decide. But what we keep saying is that it is very important for the UN, I believe in the future of the UN, to have these reform materialize. You would have noted that our Secretary General also advocates a reform of international financial institution. And I think the objective is the same, is to basically bring about more fairness and more adequate representativity to these bodies. But for the Security Council, definitely, we all believe that it's a very important issue, and we hope that, however difficult, we hope that the reform will be forthcoming one day.
The grand event of Mahakumbh 2025, the world's largest religious gathering, is coming to an end on Wednesday on the occasion of Mahashivratri. Since its commencement on January 13th, more than 647.7 million devotees have taken the holy dip at the Triveni Sangam seeking blessings. Even on the final day, devotees continue to arrive in Prayagraj to be part of this sacred event before it ends. The coinciding of the Mahashivratri festival today has further elevated the spiritual significance of the day as devotees worship Lord Shiva. Famous Shiva temples across India, including the Kashi Vishwanath temple, the Mahakaleshwar temple and Kedarnath, are all witnessing massive footfalls, aligning with the culmination of this once in 12 years event. On the occasion, the Indian Air Force conducted an air show over the Triveni Sangam on the last Amrit Snan, celebrating the conclusion of the 45-day-long event. And next we take a look at what else is making news around the world. During an operation to apprehend Vietnamese fishing boats by the Thai Navy officials, one fishing boat rammed into the Navy vessel. The boats were carrying out illegal fishing activities in Thailand's exclusive economic zone. Stepping up its efforts to help anxious litigants in court, Australia has permanently introduced support dogs to courtrooms in Sydney and Newcastle. Trained as therapy dogs, these puppies have been introduced after a successful trial to help people deal with courtroom stress. Japan Post Holdings plans to sell shares in Japan Post Bank worth 600 billion yen or $4.02 billion, according to sources involved. The sale aims to reduce Japan Post Holdings' stake in the bank to below 50%, granting Japan Post Bank greater business flexibility by relaxing restrictions designed to protect private companies. Nigeria's National Museum Commission is all set to retrieve and keep priceless Benin bronzes from the United Kingdom as approved by the royal ruler cum custodian 2 years ago. These African artistic masterpieces are largely held in Europe. In sports, India's star batter Virat Kohli on Wednesday rose to the 5th position in the latest ICC men's player rankings, after he scored his 51st ODI century in superb batting display against Pakistan at the ICC Champions Trophy in Dubai. As per the new ICC ODI rankings, Kohli gained 1 place to move into the 5th spot overall. The feat brings 3 Indian batters in the top 5. Opener Shubman Gill, captain Rohit Sharma maintained their positions at the top of the rankings table, courtesy of their own decent game at the ongoing Champions Trophy event. And some good news for South Africa as skipper Temba Bavuma said that Henrik Klaasen has recovered from the elbow injury that kept him out of its Champions Trophy opener against Afghanistan. The Proteas were unsure if Klaasen would have been available to face Australia in their second match in Rawalpindi on Tuesday, but the game was abandoned without a ball being bowled due to rain. Klaasen could feature in South Africa's final Group B game against England in Karachi on Saturday. Bavuma said that his team will rest for a couple of days before turning its attention to England. And Cristiano Ronaldo scored his 925th goal as Al Nassr beat Al Wehda 2-0 in the Saudi Pro League on Tuesday. The Portuguese skipper headed in the opener just after half-time with his 17th goal of the current league campaign, which sees Ronaldo overtake former Real Madrid teammate Karim Benzema in the race for the Golden Boot. The 40-year-old 5-time Ballon d'Or winner is now just 75 goals short of amassing a tally of 1,000 official goals throughout his career.
That's what it's all about, it's putting good delivery into the box. Ronaldo hits this, it pings off the wall. Well, the referees...
So that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Thaneja. From all of us here in New Delhi, thank you for watching. Namaskar.